Hello everyone, we are about to go into a very unique Shavuot in which the entire Jewish world will be celebrating 2 days because of Shavuot. Some of us will be celebrating Shavuot as Friday and a regular Shabbos following, and some of us will be celebrating a 2-day Yom Tov, one of them being Friday, one of them being Shabbos. Regardless, because Friday is a Yom Tov, we have a unique Mitzva on Erev Yom Tov called Eiruv Tavshilin. And I think it's important to brush up as to how it works, and more importantly, how does it influence this particular Shavuos. So we have to invite ourselves to two homes that the Gemara in Psachim Daf Mem Vav Amud Bet introduces to us, and that is the home of Rav Chisda and the home of Rava. According to Rav Chisda, it is absolutely permissible to cook from Friday to Shabbos. However, the sages were worried that if you allow people to cook from Friday to Shabbos, they're also going to think you can cook from a Yom Tov to a mundane day, say from a Wednesday Yom Tov to a regular work day on Thursday, which is forbidden. And therefore they said, make an Eiruv Tavshilin, which will make clear to the Jewish people that this is only when a Friday goes into a Shabbos, not from a third Wednesday to a Thursday. However, Rava disagrees. Rava says it's absolutely forbidden to cook from Friday to Shabbos. However, on Friday, the laws of Yom Tov dictate that you can make food even if you finish lunch, because maybe guests will come and you want to feed them. So even though you didn't invite guests, they may invite themselves. And therefore you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov if you think guests will come, or at least there's a probability that they may come through the door. However, the rabbis weren't happy to just rely on this, and therefore they said, do an Eiruv Tavshilin. So, as you could see, Rav Chisda and Rava had two different reasons for Eiruv Tavshilin. How does it influence you? According to the one of the Balei HaTosfot, it's good enough to have something cooked, but Rabbeinu Tam insisted it has to be something cooked and something baked. So in order not to have a big fight between the Balei HaTosfot, we do both. We take both something cooked and something baked, and we do this mitzvah so that the Balei HaTosfot can all have peace in heaven and know that we're fulfilling all opinions. What do we care how and why it happened? The answer is there's a huge nafkamina between Rav Chisda and Rava. The Rambam paskins like Rav Chisda. Yom Tov shechaliyot erev Shabbos ein ofin mevashlim b'Yom Tov. Mashu achel machar b'Shabbos v'yistur zeh midivrei sofrim kedei shelo yavo levashel miyom tov lechol. According to the Rambam, based on Rav Chisda, biblically you're allowed to cook on Friday for Shabbos. However, for the concerns we said, only through an Eiruv Tavshilin. We're allowed to cook totally and utterly throughout the day, and in virtue of the Eiruv Tavshilin. In the words of the Aruch HaShulchan, the Laharambam, mutar levashel miyom tov l'Shabbat, afilu samuch chashecha, kevan shemin haTorah mutar. According to the Rambam, it's only a rabbinic prohibition, overridden by the Eiruv Tavshilin. So you can cook all Friday up to 2 minutes, 1 minute before Shkia when you mekabel Shabbos. However, Rava said, actually, you're not allowed to cook on Friday for Shabbos. It's only because maybe guests will come plus the Eiruv Tavshilin. If that's being the case, then it has to be a time where it's at least probable that guests will come through the door. That's not all day. 2 minutes before Shkia to put something on the barbecue? What's the probability that guests are going to come in those 2 minutes? And indeed, the Ran in the name of the Ramban paskins like Rava. So does the Tosfos. So does the Mordechai in his Chavrusa, the Hagaot Maimoniot. And according to these points of view, you cannot cook all day. You can cook most of the day, but up to a time where it's probable that guests will come in. In the words of the Tosfos, if you start making honey so close to the end of the day, there's no way the guests can eat it because it won't be ready. Or in the words of the Mordechai, lo mishkachat isur d'oraita ela b'mechin samuch l'chashecha ho'elu maklei orchim. There could be a biblical prohibition because at a time so close to the end of the day, there's no guests coming through your door. And therefore, according to these points of view, as summed up by the Aruch HaShulchan, mitam ho'il asur samuch l'chashecha dahalocha ze le'orchim. You have to make food in such a way on Friday going into Shabbos, if, at least probability-wise, guests will come through the door. But 2 minutes before Shabbos, half an hour before Shabbos, they're not coming through the door anymore, and therefore you can't make food then. Because of this, the Magen Avraham came along and said that in order to prevent people from doing perhaps a potential Isser D'Oraisa, don't cook so close to the end of the day. That if a Friday went into a Shabbos and Friday was Yom Tov, we have a custom to make an early Shabbos. Why? So that people will know to stop cooking not so close to sunset. La halacha, the Mishnah Bura indeed says, Yizaher lahagdim achanat ma'achalav l'Shabbat. You should try to make it earlier in the day and not later in the day. That's so close to the end of the day. There's no way you need it for Friday because no guests are coming through the door, and therefore there was this custom to make an early Shabbos. However, you can rely, of course, on the Rambam that said the whole day is permitted. Well, based on that, everyone this Thursday should make an Eiruv Tavshilin, and Friday cook for Shabbos, albeit not so close to the end of the day. And I believe the lesson to us is clear. We make a big deal out of learning Torah on Shavuot, Friday. However, the Yerushalmi does say, and I quote its words from Masechet Shabbos, Perek Tedvav, some division 3, Lo nitnu Shabbatot v'yamim tovim ela la'asok behem b'divrei Torah. Shabbos and Yom Tovim were given to the Jewish people in order for them to be busy with learning Torah. We're busy all week, we're running here, we're running there. Shabbos and Yom Tov is a time to learn. And indeed, the Torah brings in his halachic work, the famous Medrash, in which came Torah before God and said, who's going to learn me once the Jewish people enter Israel? Everyone's going to be busy, working for a living, not living around the Mishkan getting manna from heaven. How are they going to learn me? Comes along God and says, I got a match for you. The Shabbat Shmo, and it's called Shabbos. Because on Shabbos they don't work, and they can be busy with learning Torah. I believe that this year, when Shavuot comes out with a Shabbos, it's a message to us, the Jewish people. Since on Erev Yom Tov, we're going to be mixing up the food of Yom Tov with Shabbos, literally Eiruv Tavshilin, then what better way to express this than to mix up Shavuos with Shabbos and to say we're going to learn Torah on Shavuos and also on Shabbos. We're going to fulfill the Torah on Shavuos and also on Shabbos. Let's not limit our learning Torah to once a year to Shavuos. Let's make sure it's at least every Shabbos. Indeed, we have an ancient tradition that the Torah wasn't given this Friday, the 6th of Sivan, but on Shabbos, the 7th of Sivan. Namely, if the Torah was given Dafka on Shabbos, it is the time for the Jewish people to say, yes, we'll celebrate the anniversary on Friday, but the best way to celebrate the anniversary is continuing to learn and fulfill the Torah even through Shabbos. Wishing everyone a Chag Sameach and a Shabbat Shalom, 2 days that will be filled with learning Torah and fulfilling it.
When I say I'm